It's not.
Hey, babe. You doing okay? Yeah, things are a little hard right now, honey, so we just have to be strong for Mama, you know? Okay, sure. Do you want one from your book, or? Oh, okay. I'll just, all right. Do you know the story of Rumpelstiltskin? Mm-hmm. Okay, sure, yeah.
All right, let me see if I can remember. Okay, well, once upon a time, there was a girl. And she was the daughter of a miller, I think, which is a kind of farmer. And she had the most beautiful blonde hair. It was so beautiful, it caught the sun like it was gold. It was so beautiful. Well, maybe she becomes one. Just wait and see. All right. So, her father, he liked to tell tall tales. Okay? And one day, he boasted to the king that his daughter was so talented that she could spin straw into pure gold. All right? And the king, he called him out on his bluff, and he summoned the girl, and he said that if she could truly make gold from straw, then he would allow her to marry his son, the prince. But if not, he'd chop off her head. Okay? Yeah, because he's a very severe king. Well, I mean, then she'll be a queen, and in the old days, most of the girls wanted to marry a prince, right? So, I like that. Anyway, the king, he locks the girl in a tower with a spinning wheel and a small pile of straw. And he says he's going to return in the morning, all right, to see if she has made the straw into gold. And the night passes, and in the morning, she's given up all hope, right? When all of a sudden, a little small strange man appears, okay? And he asks her if she has any wishes, and she says she wishes to turn the straw into gold, right? And so the imp says he can do such a thing, but first she must give him her necklace. So the girl gives up her necklace, of course, and the imp, he sits at this spinning wheel, and he starts to spin, and he spins, and he spins, and he spins, and he produces this pile of golden thread. And then there's this knock at the door, right? Because it's morning, and he just disappears, and the king comes in, and there's this small pile of gold, and he is amazed. The king is so amazed, but he's suspicious because he thinks this might be a fluke, you know what I mean? So he moves her to a second tower with an even bigger pile of straw. And again, same challenge. Spin the straw into gold by morning or off with your head. So the girl waits and waits all night long, and then again, just before dawn, that little imp appears, okay? And this time he demands her ring. So she, of course, she gives him her ring, and he spins the gold into straw, and then he disappears, and the king comes in, and there's this pile of gold, and the king is almost convinced, but for a final time, he throws her in a third tower with a huge pile of straw, and he says, you gotta turn this straw into gold, and he leaves. And yet again, just before dawn, that imp appears. But the girl, she doesn't have any jewelry left, all right? So what's she gonna do? And the imp says, if you give me your firstborn child, I'll turn this straw into gold. And the girl, she's so terrified that she says, yes, of course, of course. And the imp, he spins the entire huge pile of straw into gold. And right before the king walks in, he disappears, and the king opens up the door, and he's so excited, he can't believe it. He says, truly, you are magical, he says. That's his voice. And then the very next day, the girl, she's married to the prince, right? And despite all the weirdness of this marriage, they actually really like each other. In fact, they fall in love. And 2 years later, that little girl, now a princess, is pregnant. Okay, thank you for that. Now, in the summer, she gives birth to this beautiful baby daughter, okay? But her happiness about this new little girl, it's short-lived, because guess who comes back? The imp. The imp reappears and he says, I've come to collect my reward, he says. And the baby is mine. And the princess, she sobs and she offers him like all the riches in the kingdom. But he insists, he says, I want that baby. And she begs him, please, to, and finally, the imp says, okay. If you can guess my name within 3 days, you can keep the baby. But if not, the baby is mine, as we agreed. And he leaves, and the princess, she is distraught. I mean, she immediately sends all of her staff and her servants out into the kingdom to figure out this little imp's name. But by midnight of that first day, no one's been able to track down anything, or the creature, or his name. And the imp, he appears, and he asks her, what is my name? And she guesses, is it David? And he laughs, he says, no, 2 more guesses, and he leaves. And the next day, nothing. Nobody comes back with any information, and he arrives again at midnight, and she guesses this time, no, it's not. He says, no. Laughs the imp, okay? He says no, and he leaves. It's not Stephen. And the next day, the princess is so upset because she doesn't know what to do. She only has 1 more guess, 1 more day. And so she leaves the baby with her servants and she just walks into the forest because she's so worried she's gonna lose her baby. And she wanders and wanders all day, and into the evening, she wanders, and suddenly she comes on a small clearing. Okay, and a little field, and in that little field is a little tent, and in the center of it, there is a little small fire, and she hides. She hides behind a bush. And out of the tent, to her amazement, out comes the imp. And he's dancing around the fire, right? And he sings, today, plans I make. Tonight, the baby I take. The princess will never win the game, for Rumpelstiltskin is my name. And smiling to herself, the princess runs back to the castle because she heard his name. And that evening, the imp arrives, right? And he's kind of gloating, and he asks her his name. And the princess kind of looks sad, she's kind of pretending to be sad, and she gnashes her teeth a little bit, but then she looks him in the eye and she says, your name's Rumpelstiltskin. And the imp, his eyes bulge, and he looks like he's gonna burst, and his head goes, red. He shakes it like he's gonna explode, and all of a sudden it's, do you think he should? Okay, well, then Rumpelstiltskin ran away and he never came back. And the princess became queen, and her daughter grew up to be a wonderful queen in her own right, and everyone lived happily ever after. Yeah? Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know, maybe he was lonely. It's just a story. You do? I guess. Now that you mention it, most of the people in the story were bad. You would? Okay. Well, honey, I have to go out, I'm afraid, so. But yeah, you got your glowworm, right? Oh, I love that name. That's a great name. All right, come here. Give me a kiss, real quick. Love you, kid. Night, night.
Listen to the Game est un podcast produit par Podcut. Vous pouvez retrouver l'ensemble des podcasts du label sur podcut.studio. Et si vous avez l'âme et le porte-monnaie d'un mécène, un Patreon est aussi là pour les soutenir. Vous pouvez aussi retrouver le podcast sur Twitter @LTTG podcast ou sur Facebook. Je rappelle qu'une présentation globale du concept est disponible en épisode 0. Merci de votre écoute et à très vite.
Hey, listen.